Hey guys, it's Cooper Gretsch here from Kick It to Scoops. I am the sole admin of AFL information, trade rumours and results. You want to be part of the show, Kick It to Scoops? Send through your questions through the Facebook link, which I'll attach every show on the post. And if you want to email me at aflinfolive@gmail.com, send through your questions and you may feature on the show and be answered your question from yours truly, Cooper Gretsch, for free. Yes, for free. If you want to be on the show, as I said, send it through and I'll get back to you. Go Saints! Too easy this is. Kick It to Scoops.
Hello everyone and welcome to Kick It to Scoops. I'm your host Cooper Gretsch, the sole admin of AFL information, trade rumours and results. With a good show for you guys today. We've got the world famous segment Scoops Goes Bang. I had originally said 3 things to rant on about or go bang about, but now we've got a late inclusion, a 4th one. I was going to talk about Bobby Hill in the Scoops Goes Bang, North Melbourne and Geelong. But another additional North Melbourne rant I'm going to go on about is Brady Rawlings, the list manager of the North Melbourne Footy Club. He's just had a very big swipe at the Saints, so we'll be going through that very shortly and rant on about that. A full trade wrap of all 18 clubs, and a few little things I'm going to mention off the top of the show here today. First of all, you want me on Cameo, head to cameo.com/Cooper G merch. There's a lot of merch. There's the Acknowledge Me t-shirts, there's mugs, there's stubby holders, there's hoodies, there's everything on there. All the usuals on there and hats. So if you want to get any of your merch, I recommend you get it as early as you can because with Christmas coming up in just over a month's time, you want to be guaranteed your merch. The best chance is to get in there. Some are running low on stock, not everything, but it's best to get in now while you can. Now also, I actually forgot to mention a few weeks ago, after the grand final, I had the Scoops medal of the finals edition. While the votes were in, and obviously Petrarca got 3, Bailey Fritsch got 2. I can't remember honestly who got 1, but that vote was irrelevant. So I declare the very late winner of the Scoops medal finals edition, Jackson McRae, who won by 3 votes on average against the second placed Max Gawn. So congratulations to Jackson McRae. Not only did he win the Scoops medal for the inaugural Scoops medal for the home and away season, Jackson McRae has won the finals edition of the Scoops medal. So congratulations to Jackson McRae. Now also, in coming weeks on the show, I'm going to be mentioning my best 22 for your club for season 2022. Now, I understand that the drafts are coming up in over a month's time, which I'll be talking more in detail in upcoming episodes of Kick It to Scoops. But yeah, I'm just going to give you guys a heads up. Best 22 will start next week. I've started to do some right now, today and yesterday. So with the trade read wrapped up, get a better idea of your club's best 22, and I'll probably do them again after the draft because some of the clubs with top draft picks, those players will probably or potentially come into the 22. But for now, I'll start doing them from next week. Now, let's move on to the world-famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang! Brady Rawlings, the late inclusion one I was going to rant on about. Now, Saints were unsuccessful in landing contracted Roos young ruckman, the 22-year-old ruckman, Tristan Cherry. St Kilda had offered a 3rd-round pick, which is about fair for someone who's played about 12 games in 4 years. He's a young player. He's got time in his hand, but for North Melbourne wanting a 2nd-round pick for essentially a reserves ruckman, lift your game is ridiculous. They could have offered future 3rd, which is about fair for a reserve run. It's probably generous, to be honest, in a late later pick swaps in the 4th and 5th rounds, probably going in North's favour, which I still want to do. But anyway, that's what it looked like it was going to be. Brady Rawlings today had a press conference and he said this on Tristan Cherry and relating to him and St Kilda, referring to the St Kilda as the other team. At 7:31, I called him straight away after the trade deadline and said, mate, we clearly rate you higher than the other team do. We'll get back to preseason and he might cop a bit of crap for a week or two, but that's how footy clubs work. Well, how list management works at the North Melbourne Football Club, particularly from Brady Rawlings and co, is absolutely fucking delusional. This is a disgrace, an insult to St Kilda saying, mate, we clearly rate you higher than the other team do. Oh, really, Brady? You really rate him higher than St Kilda? He was probably going to be the backup ruckman. He's the backup to the backup now. North Melbourne, you got Todd Goldstein. He ain't playing ahead of Todd Goldstein. Then you played, you get Callum Coleman-Jones, who you rate and rave on about saying how good he'll be. You gave him a 4-year deal. You're going to play him ahead of Cherry. Then you got Tom Campbell, who may or not still be there, who will probably be ahead of him in the ruck department. Then you brave on about the mid-season recruit. You got Jacob Edwards and Charlie Cobden, who can pinch you in the ruck like Cherry. So he's going to be completely down the pecking order at North Melbourne, where he'd be probably the number 3 choice ruckman at St Kilda, where he'd be number 4 or 5th choice ruckman at North Melbourne. So Brady, that makes absolutely zero sense. You rate him. You only rate yourselves in your list management crew. Glenn Laugh, yourself. You don't. You're pathetic. Seriously, you rate him higher than the other team, referring to St Kilda do. Clearly, that's bullshit. You're only saying you wanted a second-round pick because you're being unrealistic. You sound like Adrian Dodoro and Essendon being unrealistic for trades. And Geelong with Stephen Wells. Lift your game! My God. What an embarrassment Brady Rawlings made himself look even worse than he already was. Well, that will kind of conclude with the North Melbourne unrealistic bit. So we'll now move on to, in the other part of Scoops, being Geelong. Jordan Clark. The supposed phone call with Jordan Clark and list manager Stephen Wells. Sam Edmund came out and said that the phone call ended badly, where Jordan Clark demanded to be traded to Fremantle, although he was in contract for another year still. Another similar one. But this time, you treated Jordan Clark like crap. And rightfully so, Sam Edmund said that Jordan Clark came up to the phone. I 100% believe that. Why would a journalist say that and try and embarrass himself if that was false? And I believe that. And then Stephen Wells basically having a dig at Sam Edmund. And he had Joey Montagna, David King, kissing ass to Stephen Wells, who was on Fox last night, going, I don't know why some journo would say that. I don't know why you do that, Stephen. You're one of the best list matches. Going, what the hell has that got to do with anything, Kingy or Joey? What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Seriously. You're just trying to get an interview. That's why you're saying that. Now, Geelong treated Jordan Clark like crap. There's a supposed fallout with Matthew Scarlett. I believe that as well. Why is Scarlett not there? Exactly my point. He had a falling out with Chris Scott. I believe that story too. Why is he not there? And why is Scott now staying all of a sudden and got 2-year contract extension? Funny that now you go back to the trade for Jordan Clark now. Pick 8. Originally you wanted for Jordan Clark, please. Is a guy you did not rate. You want to say, we rate him highly. We want him to stay. He is going to stay. That's all full of shit. You didn't want him. That's why he played, 11 games this year? He was a sub about 3 or 4 times. And when he was in, you took him straight back out like Narkle. And you left, seriously, Geelong, Stephen Wells. Full of shit. Jordan Clark's now got a 4-year deal at the Dockers. Good on him. To Geelong, Stephen Wells, and to the suck-ups, to Stephen Wells. Lift your game. And Bobby Hill. Now, this is partly a direct comment towards Bobby Hill and not really Essendon, but Bobby Hill and his management. Now, surprisingly, Essendon offered a future second-round pick for Bobby Hill, which is for an contracted player, which is very rare. Essendon do something, offer a deal that's very generous. Now, that's not who I'm swiping at. It's Bobby Hill and his management. Seriously, if you're so desperate you're not even going back home to Victoria. You're from WA. But you wanted to go so desperately to Victoria to be around your cousin from the Saints, Brad Hill, and other family and co. Why Essendon now? You're going to say, he's got someone in the AFLW side. If you're so desperate for family support to head to Victoria, well, you should be willing and open to go to any other club. You had the Pies offer you a contract, Bobby. I'm sure you had other clubs interested in North Melbourne, St Kilda. Why were you so solely directed on going to Essendon? You're so desperate to come back to Victoria, which now isn't the case, to stay at the Giants. Apparently, in tears. Well, Bobby, if maybe you were so open to going to other clubs outside of Essendon, you may have got your wish. So to his management whinging and saying it's disrespectful and all this blah, 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 for people blaming Jason McCartney, he had every right to say what he said. So to Bobby Hill and his management, lift your game. Pathetic. Hope you guys enjoyed that lengthy, extensive, sorry, I'm going to go through that investigation again. The explosive Scoops goes bang. Now, we'll move on to the full trade wrap for all of your 18 or all 18 AFL clubs. Now, we'll start off with the three that I said that didn't get mentioned, didn't happen. Tristan Cherry, you mentioned, I went through that already. But then the other two that didn't happen, Bobby Hill, again, we kind of went through that already. And Rory Lobb was the other one that didn't have it. The Dockers, they didn't want to accommodate any of the salary cap. Fremantle, which is all well and good, but the deal didn't happen, so he didn't get to the Giants, which is unfortunate for the Giants. Now, I'm going to go through every club. Now, I apologise, guys, if there's some noise in the background. There's something going on outside which is really, really loud, so I really do apologise for that if it is impacting this video. Now, we'll move on to all 18 clubs. We'll start in alphabetical order with the Adelaide Crows. So I'm going to go through as follows. I'll basically say who arrived, who left, and their current draft picks and any future picks they had swapped out. So for the Crows, I thought they did pretty well in the end. Who arrived? You had Jordan Dawson from the Swans on a 5-year deal. Great addition from South Australia, Jordan Dawson. Who left? Jake Kelly, pretty much a direct replacement. And Jordan Dawson can play off the wing as well, which Justin Reid, their list boss, has alluded to. Jake Kelly left as a free agent, so I'd be happy with what they got. And Jordan Dawson came in, as I said. So no big loss losing Kelly. Dawson's a great in. Their current draft picks for this draft period is pick 4, 33, 75, and 80. The future picks, they gave up a future fourth to St Kilda as part of the 4-club mega trade involving picks. Also, the deal also resulted in Adelaide acquiring Melbourne's first rounder, which was then passed on to Sydney for Jordan Dawson. So overall, pretty good for the Swans. Effectively, Dawson for Kelly is very, very good, and they keep pick 4, which is great for the Crows. Now, Brisbane only brought in Darcy Ford late on the last day, and who left? Absolutely no one, because they got a tight salary cap. The picks they got, a pretty good crop of picks for the Brisbane Lions. Pick 14, 18, 41, 54, 60, 76, and 90. They gave up a future third-round selection to Geelong as part of the acquiring Darcy Ford. So, again, tight for cap. They need some backup ruck supporting forward ruck. Darcy Ford was one of the few options out there. So, I mean, they did okay. Preferably, you could have got someone else other than Darcy Ford. But with a tight salary cap, they had no choice. So, they've gone with Darcy Ford. Now, we'll move on to the Carlton Football Club. Who arrived? We got in Adam Chera, George Hewitt, and Lewis Young. Out, Sam Petreski-Seaton. Their current picks, pick 25, 64, 82. Carlton lost a future third-round selection in a deal for Chera. The club hopes to invest in next year's draft and took its 2022 first and second-round picks off the table during the trade period. So, I mean, to bring in Adam Chera for pick 6 eventually, it was a great trade, and a future third, I think it was. And then bringing George Hewitt as a free agent was very good, smart selection. Lewis Young as a cheap option, I think it was pick 52 at the top of my head. So to get Lewis Young, effectively for Petreski-Seaton, overall, not in a direct swap from a grand scheme of things, Seaton was for pick 52 and untraded to Bulldogs for Lewis Young. So they need some key defensive options. Lewis Young can provide that. I know they got Wiedering and Jones, but you got question marks over Plowman and Marchbank, so it's not a bad option. And he can float forward if you have to, because now with Casbolt out, it's pretty good. And Chera and Hewitt is particularly, though, great addition to that midfield. You got Chera, Walsh, Cripps, Curnow. I'm sure I'm missing a few, so it's a good crop of midfielders in there. Starting midfield of Chera, Cripps, Walsh, Hewitt, a mixture of that. Then you've got Curnow as well with Jack Nunes and some others. Pretty good midfield there for Carlton. They didn't get a ruckman, still going to have Mark Pitney and Tom DeConning. I don't have massive faith in them, but overall, Carlton did really, really good. It was probably one of two with Fremantle. They were the best sides in the trade period. Now we'll move on to the Collingwood Footy Club. Pretty solid again for the Pies. Got what they wanted in Nathan Kruger from Geelong as a key position forward who can play back they want him as a forward, which is a good idea, considering that's the area they probably lack in. And Pat Lipinski from the Western Bulldogs, I like the move. It was for a pick in the 40s in the end. Collingwood got a lot of picks for for father-son Nick Dacos. I like the move of Pat Lipinski. They say he can play a bit of midfield and half forward. I like the move pretty much for the cheap. On a 3-year deal, I like the move. I think Kruger was a 3-year deal as well. Who left? Maxi Lynch, as they've alluded to multiple times. Graham Wright has said they didn't want to lose Maxi Lynch. But when you got the best ruckman in the competition in Brodie Grundy, he was going to look for opportunity, and he's going to do that at the Hawks. So their picks 27, 36, 46, 48, 55, 58, 78, and 79. They're pretty much, as I said, academy for Nick Dacos, or father-son getting points for Nick Dacos. They got enough points, so they'll be able to match that and not really go into deficit. The Pies are active in the futures market, trading out their future second, third, and fourth in the day one deal with Gold Coast. But they ended up with three future round 3 picks tied to Freo, Brisbane, and the Hawks. So, in fairness, they really lost the future second and fourth, but really the future fourth rounders don't really get used. They're only really for points, and they gained three third round picks for future picks. So that pretty much eliminates that part. They really only, overall, they only really lost a future second for Kruger and Lipinski. So they did pretty well. They lost Lynch, basically Lynch in a future second for Kruger and Lipinski. So they did pretty well, and they're going to get Nick Dacos in too. So they done really, really well with the Pies. The Bombers brought in Jake Kelly on the first day of free agency on that Friday. Who left absolutely no one through trade and free agency. They picked 11, 51, 56, and 87. They maintained their future picks and didn't upload any. But look, to be honest, I think they'd be disappointed. They still didn't get a small forward. They were interested in Ben Long, which I was hoping they'd take, but they didn't. They were interested in Bobby Hill. They didn't get, obviously, and that came very late. Adrian Dodore admitted on that. It came on the last Friday, so it was too late to get it done. And even so, GWS were not interested, and fair enough. So pretty quiet for Essendon, but Jake Kelly, they say they can play a bit of a lockdown role. It's a solid move. They're going to, it's a fresh. For money-wise, they had to pay him. I think it was 3 deal, but from salary cap point of view, from a list management point of view, it's pretty good outside of the salary cap. It was a good move. So that's all they did. Essendon, so they did okay. Fremantle, who was the next best side of Carlton in the trade pit for me, and the Pies, who arrived. Will Brodie, so part of that pick 19. They took the salary cap. They got pick 19 for him, essentially. So they did pretty well there. Gold Coast got some picks back, but it was a great move for the Dockers and the Suns salary cap wise. And in Jordan Clark on the last day on a 4-year deal, great move. They did not cave in to Geelong with pick 19, which is a valuable pick because he's the first pick on the second night of the draft, and therefore you got that 24-hour window where you can do trading with that pick. Well, not officially, but they can talk to close to 24 hours. This is where in the draft you got between 2 to 5 minutes to make a selection if you want to trade picks per every pick. So it's a valuable pick, and I'm glad they didn't cave in Geelong because Clark was not worth that. What Geelong were wanting was unrealistic. He's a solid player, but not for pick 19. So he's obviously well there. Who left Adam Sherratt? Look, as Peter Bell said, they didn't want to lose Sherratt. He's a great player, but Will Brodie could fill in that role. Blake Acres could push in there. They got plenty of options at Dockers, and Jordan Clark could even push there that they admitted. So they'll be happy with that. They can play off halfback Clark as well, so he's got a bit of versatility in him, and he's got some speed, which they like and want and probably need. Picks, they got they're blessed for picks. Picks 6, 8, and 19 is their main 3. Great, so just 3 in the top 19, and 61, 69, and 84. Their future picks, they traded their own future second, third, and fourth round picks and now hold a future 4th round selection, which is tied to Geelong. They retained their future first, and as I said, you pick 19. Carlton's future, right? They got Carlton's future third, but it was arriving when passed on to the Cats, part of the Jordan Clark deal. So Dockers, very good. Brodie on the cheap, other than paying for his contract. In terms of draft picks, they got him for pick 19, which is a great steal for someone that was playing in reserves most of the last 2 years. Jordan Clark, good pickup, and Sherratt again. They didn't want to lose. They retained their first round. They got pick 6 and pick 19. So they essentially got pick 6 and 19 for Sherratt. So they did. I know they didn't in theory, but when you think about it, and they gained Will Brodie and Clark without losing. So they gained Brodie, Clark, and 6 and 19 for losing Chera. So just think about that. You gain pick 6, they got pick 8, but that was their original pick. So they gained pick 6, 19, Clark, and Brodie for Chera, essentially. That is master trading from Peter Bell and the Fremantle list management crew. Should be very proud of what they've done. That is absolutely great trading. 2 first rounders and Brodie and Clark for Chera, essentially. Great work from the Dockers. Geelong, who arrived, Jonathan Segler from the Hawks, is a ruckman on a 2-year deal. Who left? Jordan Clark, Darcy Ford, Nathan Kruger. They go in with picks 22, 30, 32, 34, 50, and 91. They received a future 3rd round, which is tied to Carlton via Fremantle, and a future 4th tied to Hawthorn. They gave up, though, their future 4th round to the Dockers. Their future 3rd came as somewhat of a sweetener in the Jordan Clark trade. But anyway, so Jordan Clark is a loss, but they didn't really regularly play him, so it's not really a big loss for them because then they play everyone over 30. Darcy Fort, Nathan Kruger go out again. They were depth players there, so they wouldn't be too concerned. But Jonathan Sealand, there's a lot of people going on about another 30-year-old. This is a good move of getting someone over 30. They need ruck support for Reece Stanley. So essentially they swapped Segler for Darcy Fort, and I know who I'd be picking. That's Jonathan Segler on a 2-year deal. He had some good games when he played for the Hawks this year. He's not a reserves player. He's a good player. Just Hawthorn prioritised Ned Reeves and Ben McAvoy in that area, and that's why he wasn't getting a regular game. But if people recall, the game he was a late inclusion for Ned Reeves in Sydney at the SAG against the Hawks. Tom Hickey, who had one bad game the whole year, and it was against Johnny Segler. I'm pretty sure John Segler had around 20, 25 disposals and 25 hitouts that game. So Johnny Segler had a good game then, and then a few games after that when he played, when he was available and needed, he was very, very good. So it's a good selection for Geelong. I don't mind this move. So overall, they did okay, 22, 30, and 32, and 34, their main picks. They did okay. They didn't get what they wanted to pick 9 for Clark, which was unrealistic. And even the deal they got was okay in the end, 22 and a future 3rd. So, yeah, overall, okay for Geelong. Move on to the Gold Coast Suns. They got Marbiol Charles, a free agent on the first day on the Friday on a 4-year deal. Question mark the length of the deal, though. Who left? Will Brodie, salary cap dump, essentially. Their draft picks, it says here on the AFL side, pick 3. That is wrong. They've got a few picks after that. They've loaded up with picks for next year with getting Collingwood's future 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounders. Part of getting points with Nick Dacos for Collingwood, as well as Fremantle's 2nd and 3rd round selections in the Will Brodie trade. So they are absolutely loaded for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rounders next year. They got their own 1st rounder next year, and they got their own 2nd, and then an additional 2 2nd rounders and a few 3rd rounders on top of their own. So they've got 3 3rd rounders and 3 2nd rounders and their own 1st. Hang on, let me take that back. Sorry. Yeah, they'll have 3 2nd rounders and 3 3rd rounders. So great trading for next year. They don't need the picks this year. They've got a tight salary cap. They can only select 3 players in the main draft. They haven't delisted anyone as of this recording. They said they may have to move some contracted players to the rookie list to accommodate those minimum 3 selections you have to take in the draft. So this is an error on the AFL side. I don't know the other picks on my head, but they're picks in the 60+ range. So overall, Gold Coast did okay. Got some salary cap relief for Brodie, which has essentially replaced his contract with Marbiol Charles. So they did okay, and they retained pick 3, as I said. Move on to the Giants. Speaking of someone who tight salary cap, no one came in, but they lost Jeremy Finlayson for family reasons to SA. He's a solid player, Jeremy Finlayson, but 3-year deal at the power he's taken. They got picks 2, 13, 53, 71, and 89. They acquired, as I said, that future 3rd round selection from Adelaide for Jeremy Finlayson. They did pretty good. They didn't lose Bobby Hill, which I'd be happy with. They're not blessed for small forwards, Jason McCartney said, so they wanted to keep him with Toby Green missing the first 5 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if St Kilda let go Jack Loney. If the Giants look at Jack Loney, they were interested in him a few years ago. It's actually probably close to going to GWS. So I rate Jack Loney. I think it'd be a great move for the Giants, especially while Toby Green's not playing. Jack Loney is a good player, underrated player, and it could be something they look at. So I said picks 2, 13, 53, 71, and 89. Good draft, particularly with pick 2 and 13. They could potentially go for Mac Andrew, but we'll go through the draft. They might go for. They don't really need a mid, so probably a key position forward or ruck. They may look, but they got a few ruckmen on that list already as well. Overall, they got picked 2 and 13 for the Giants, so they're pretty happy with that. The Hawks, who were pretty active. They arrived Max Lynch, a young ruckman, 23-year-old ruckman from the Pies. Great move from the Hawks to bring in Max Lynch, underrated ruckman. Well, he was the best ruckman along with Paul Hunter and Tristan Cherry in the VFL this year when there was games and scratch matches. So best young ruck to pick up. Max Lynch is the one. Collingwood, as I said before, unfortunate to lose him. They didn't want to. But the Hawks acquired him. They did pretty well. Matt McKenzie, their list boss, did pretty well to get him in. Who left? Johnny Sealer's effective replacement for that. Tim O'Brien left through France to the Dogs. They didn't look like they were disappointed to lose him, but I would be. He's a good swing man. But they lose him to the Dogs on a 2 or 3 deal there. They're going to, again, they didn't lose a Gunston or a Brewster or a Wingard. They go into picks 5, 21, 24, 59, 65, and 81. Hawks won a lot of good first-round picks at this. They have a good draft hand in the next year's draft with picks in each of the first 4 rounds. Traded out their 3rd and 4th round picks to Collingwood and Geelong, but they got them back tied to Gold Coast and Freo. But now I want to actually mention here, and it's a half grilling, the journos. I should have mentioned this in Scoops as being actually forgot, but now I'm going to mention it now. Here we go. Another late edition of Scoops goes bang. Cal Toomey, Rolly Beveridge, AFL.com.au journos, John Ralph, and co. Seriously, you guys say you want credit for your work, and fair enough, you get your credit and you deserve it. If you got an exclusive, you got it. Now, I exclusively revealed on Tuesday night that GWS had shown an interest in Luke Bruce, which they confirmed. Now, I wrote that on Tuesday night, was it about 8 o'clock range, maybe a bit earlier? I don't know. Regardless, I posted it, exclusively reported. No journal had posted it. I had checked in my sources and I ran of it, and it was right. Now, it didn't eventually. I never said it was eventually. I said they had inquired, which they did. And Jason McCartney, their list boss, confirmed they did inquire about him and Chad Wingard. Then I had Cal Toomey reported around 2:30 yesterday afternoon on the last day, the day after I posted it. Now, okay, Cal wouldn't have said, I like Cal's a great journo. There's not many out there, and he's one of the best, and he's the best for draft news. But seriously, it's not so much it's not a swipe. It's just a message to say, don't ask me to credit. This is not referring to Cal now. This is referring to everyone. Don't tell me to credit you. Then you don't want to credit me. And some people want to say, oh, it's because you're a Facebook page. You're not a reliable source. Shall I remind you, I was the first one to break the Brady Hill move to St Kilda 5 months in advance. Rory Sloane signing about 2 months in advance. I had some other news in advance, and this Luke Bruce one in advance. I love to be credited. I am one of the biggest pages on Facebook. To say, oh, you're not a reliable source, you're only on Facebook. So are you telling me that someone who's on Facebook, so the next AFL player has, say, a podcast or whatever, or he has a Facebook page and he broke in news, you're going to tell me, I know he used to be, you'd say, oh, he's an ex-player, he gets some goss. Sorry, I didn't realise you had to be on a Channel 7 or a 9 or a Fox or fucking SEN or a 3AW or ABC to be a credited source. People on Facebook pages do get reliable information on other sites, Twitter, whatever. And just to say that is an absolute slap in the face. I'm sure people like you started with stuff like that, and that's what I'm at. And I don't appreciate that kind of comment. So to those people, lift your game. And to credit the Hawthorn Luke Bruce, I would love the credit there. That'd be absolutely perfect. But the Hawks, they did pretty well. They didn't lose any of those big names they were trying to ship out, but it is what it is there. Melbourne, they got Luke Dunstan as a free agent. He was not delisted, John Ralph, who still says he was delisted. It was not delisted. He arrived as a free agent on a 2-year deal. Free agent. Remember, they're not delisted free agent, unrestricted free agent. Who left? No one. They're going to pick 17, 37, 49, 57, and 94. They were the premiers, so they didn't have to do much. They did what they had to do. They traded away future picks to move back into this year's draft. Its 22nd first-round selection is now in the hands of the Swans via the Crows. while it received pick 17 this year rather in return. So pretty good trading for the Demons. Didn't do much. Luke Dunson's only depth and only will ever be depth. But they did pretty well. They got a first rounder for next year, and they'll probably do the same next year. So it's good work from Melbourne. Move on to the North Melbourne Footy Club, who I still like. I just don't like their list management comments. Who arrived? Callum Coleman-Jones on a 4-year deal. I question that, to be honest. Who left Robbie Tarrant, who went to Richmond on a 2-year deal through a trade in the end. They've coveted pick 1, which will be Jason Horne-Francis. So they'll be wrapped to get the best player in the draft, Jason Horne-Francis from SA mid-forward. Pick 1, 20, 42, 47, 72, and 77. Future picks, they lost a future second to Richmond in the deal to land Coleman-Jones, which they caved in. They should have taken him to the preseason draft. But Brady Rawlings, what a bad move, eh? You caved into Richmond when you did not have to, hey, Brady? But it secured a future 4th round selection as part of the same trade. Big deal. But yeah, to have pick 1 and 20, good work for the Roos. Losing Robert Tarrant didn't help. Callum Coleman-Jones brought some key forward depth, which they clearly lack. But yeah, okay for the Roos, only because they retained pick 1 and 20. They had fielded some offers in Richmond and Adelaide. It was an insult that Richmond's offer for pick 1. Adelaide's was pretty good. Pick 4, I think it was. Future first of theirs, which could be around pick 4 again. And that future first that Sydney now got from Adelaide, which was tied to Melbourne. So they did pretty well in the end. Well, they didn't take it. But we'll move on to the power. They brought in Jeremy Finlayson, lost Peter Ladders to the Swans. They're going to picks 12, 63, 73, 74, 92. They traded out their future 3rd round for Finlayson, but replaced it with a future 3rd tied to Sydney. Pretty plain and simple. Peter Ladders, they didn't want. They wanted a future first. They got absolutely nothing closer. They was just a pick swap 12 and 16 with the Swans and Laddams. I think Sydney did the better out of the trade. Yeah, overall, okay for the power. Pick 12's their only decent picks. The rest are all 60-plus picks. So, okay for the power. Getting some, basically, Finlayson replaces Laddams, which, to be honest, Laddams hasn't been the greatest player for them. So, Jeremy Finlayson's a direct replacement, who I actually think's probably a tad better. Richmond. And brought in Robbie Tarrant, lost Marviol Chol and Coleman-Jones. They need some key forward depth. They say Samson Ryan. Oh, that's right. The guy that had 0 possessions in his debut, they threw under the Wolves. Dougal Howard gave him a bath, and Paddy Ryder and Marshall when they're in the ruck. Yeah, that guy, yeah. And a few Category B rookies. It's just pretty much self-admitting without saying it. They need that area, and they're going to be probably exposed in that area this year. Robbie Tarrant, though, will be a great, not depth option, a regular 22 play for them. In the back half, they got a lot of good draft picks, 7, 15, 26, 28, 38, 40, and 83. If I was Richmond, I probably would have offered pick 15 to the Hawks for a Luke Bruce type. That's probably a top player they need, or even a Che Wingard or a Tom Mitchell, who's a good player. So a good lot of draft picks. They received the future second as part of the Coleman-Jones trade and Robbie Tarrant, which they don't know how they got, but they did. So good for them. They also let go of a future 4th in the same exchange. So pretty well. Now, the Saints are very, very inactive. Tried to get Luke Parker a while ago. He re-signed. Hayden McLean re-signed. Matt Crouch re-signed. Tom Cleary was contracted. Portland let go, and fair enough, got 2 years left. But other than that, they did absolutely nothing. They tried to get Christian Cherry, who requested a trade there. They stuck to their guns, not offering a future second, which is absolutely ridiculous, as I said earlier, from North's part. Lost Luke Dunstan to Melbourne. Big deal. Don't need him. They've got a lot of players that can fill his role. He wasn't even a regular 22 player anyway. They go into picks 9, 62, 66, 67, and 85. As I said, that they received a future 4th round pick in that trade, 4-team trade with the Crows, Melbourne, and the Bulldogs. They got the future 4th round pick, which is tied to Port Adelaide. So it's nice to say 9, 62, 66, 67, 85. People say, other than pick 9, you got nothing. Well, it basically points for matching for Machito Owens and Winghanger. 2 academy guys who good midfielders, got some speed, got some strength, and they got some height in them. So hopefully, providing there's no bid, no one takes them in the top 20, Saints can match after that. Fingers crossed they're around the pick 20, Mark Kell says. So fingers crossed that they get through past pick 20 and they can match them to get both. So if you get someone at pick 9, Machito Owens and Winghanger at those selections with those later picks, I'll be pretty happy with that. It was pretty quiet though for the Saints, but overall they did nothing really at all. Pretty much traded 49 for 66, 62 and 66. So, or 62 and 67. So they did okay. Peter Laddams, we'll move on to the Swans. They got Peter Laddams. Lost George Hewitt and Jordan Dawson. two handy players that would have been disappointed to lose. They get some key forward options with Laddams, who can pinch in the ruck. You've still got Tom Mickey, you got Buddy, you got Logan McDonald, got Sam Reid. Now there'll be question marks over whether he's there next year. They lost Hewitt and Dawson. They're going to pick 16, 31, 39, 70, and 88. The club has netted their future first rounder, which is tied to Melbourne, which could end up being around pick in the 20s. Their third round pick next year now belongs to Port Adelaide as part of the Laddams deal. So, yeah, they did pretty well, or actually pretty average. I'm disappointed. They caved in, could have got a better deal for Dawson when Adelaide had pick 17, I think it was. They didn't want to take it. So they come back to bite them. Now they've got Melbourne's future first. If they win the premiership next year, will be pick 18. And if there's academy bids and that, could push out at 22-ish. So, yeah, not great for the Swans. I know they brought in Laddams, but losing Dawson and Hewitt's not great. And then getting the wrong deal for Dawson because they didn't cave. They caved in. Not great. West Coast pretty inactive. They got Sam Petreski-Seaton. Don't know why. I've said that numerous times over the last few weeks. They missed out on Sam Powell-Pepper. It was too hard to get done. Their list manager O'Brien said, or fill-in list manager O'Brien said. I think it's Rowan O'Brien. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. I apologise if I am. But O'Brien, yeah, they got in Sam Petreski-Seaton, lost no one, going to picks 10, 29, 35, 68, and 86. They didn't do any deals involving future selections, keeping a full hand for 2022 for now. I mean, 52 for Petreski-Seaton's about right, to be honest. So they didn't do too bad for that, but I just question still, why bring him in? They say, it'd be good to play mid-half forward, and he pretty much had to swipe at Carlton as well. Sam, they didn't want to play you because you were no good. Plain and simple, mate. Wish you all the best at West Coast, but have fun playing in the waffle, though. Be honestly, you got Gaff, you got Shuey, you got Redden, you got Yo, you got young Xavier O'Neill, Tim Kelly as well. Then you go, he can play forward. You got Darling, Kennedy, who will re-sign, Hearn, who's re-signed now. I know he's not forward, but he's going to re-sign. Then you got Darling, Kennedy, Allen, Petrocelli, Willie Rioli, Liam Ryan up forward. And probably there's a few others too. So I don't see how he's going to get a game. Plain and simple. Now, we'll move on to the final club we'll go through today in the trade wrap is the Western Bulldogs. They brought in Tim O'Brien and lost Paddy Lipinski and Lewis Young. They gained picks, or they got picks 23, 43, 44, 45, 52, and 93. Future picks, they got a clean slate for their future picks, maintaining all their picks and not bringing in any. They lost Lewis Young and Paddy Lipinski. To them, they were depth players. Tim O'Brien, they need some key defensive options. He plays a swingman, but still, like Carlton with their ruck problem, Bulldogs need key defenders. Cordy and Garner are the answer. And O'Brien's almost as similar to those, but more of an intercept player. So Alex Keith, again, is going to have to do the bulk of the work next year. They need to bring in another solid key defensive option. Do they do that through the draft? You don't need a kid. You need a mature age defender with sort of Sanford Waffle or VFL. That's something they need to take into account. But for Pat Lipinski, I think it was something he had 43 or something, and they got in the end for him. So they did pretty well with that. So that is the long, extensive trade wrap. I hope you enjoy that. As I said, off the top of the show, I'm going to be starting the next few weeks to do clubs' best 2022s. Now, also, overall, I think the Pies, the Dockers, and the Blues were the three winners of the trade period. And the losers were probably Sydney, and due to inactivity, probably Sydney were the one not really being inactive for who they lost, what picks they didn't get in the end. But yeah, now guys, I hope you enjoy that full trade up. Just a few topics today. There's a few things also I want to mention too before. First of all, I want to say this. You want me on Cameo, head to cameo.com/Cooper G merch. It said hoodies, t-shirts, stubby holders, mugs, stickers, everything, hats. There's everything on the site. Best to get in early before Christmas. I know Christmas is still a few months away, but with stock going to be limited and you want guaranteed to get your stuff before Christmas, I'll recommend you get it in within the next week or two, even right now if you want to. Right now. My final thoughts are this. Simply, now guys, I've had some great guests, and I mean great guests over my time on this podcast. I've had Tommy Morris from Fox Footy, who helped started me getting the first interview out there, which is on the channel. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. It's the very first video uploaded. I had from Fox Footy also Sarah Ollie, who was a great help to me and great person, as was Tom. We had that collab with the one, the only Bev from the Bev show. And of course, recently, as of last week, winner of season 1 of the Recruit, the inaugural winner, and former Adelaide player Johan Yowie Wagner. They were all great help, great people. They all are great people and all were great to talk to. But when I tell you, there's a but. Now, I can't confirm who it is yet because it's not fully locked in. But you know, I'm not going to tease you now. But let me say this: if I can land this guest, this is one of the biggest guests I could possibly land, and something I ever thought could be a possibility. It is big. It is an absolute big guest, and it is absolutely massive. I don't want to tease it. I'm not going to tease it because nothing is fully locked and loaded yet. But if I can land this guest when it's planned, it will be on the show next week. So appreciate you all. Yeah. If you want anything, any merch, anything, you know what to do, head to the website. Anything you want me on Cameo, head to cameo.com/CooperG. Now, guys, I'll start with some draft talk next week. If you want any of your audio messages sent on the show, like in previous weeks and most of the episodes, excluding the last few, send me an email at aflinfolive@gmail.com and you may feature on the show. Appreciate you all, guys. Until next week, everyone, have a great one. And most importantly, go the Saints! And, of course, acknowledge me.